How to build unstoppable momentum in your life. Momentum is a strange force. Once you have it, everything feels easy. Opportunities appear. Progress accelerates. Life suddenly moves. But when you don't have it, everything feels heavy. Slow. Stuck. Impossible. The harsh truth is this: most people never achieve success, not because they're incapable, but because they never learn how to start the engine of momentum. And no one understood this more painfully than a man named Lucas Hale. The man who always started, but never continued. Lucas had big dreams. Every year, he wrote goals. Every month, he made plans. Every week, he swore things would be different. He'd start a diet, then quit. Start a workout routine, then stop. Start a side project, then abandon it. Start waking up early, then slide back into old habits. His life wasn't a staircase going up. It was a treadmill going nowhere. He was always starting, but never building. And every time he failed, the same thought echoed through his mind: what's wrong with me? Why can't I just stay consistent? He thought his problem was laziness. He thought his problem was discipline. He was wrong. The real problem would reveal itself on the night everything changed. The night he hit zero momentum. It was 12:37 a.m. Lucas sat on the floor of his living room, surrounded by notebooks filled with abandoned goals. Dozens of them. Every page looked the same: Day 1, motivated. Day 2, committed. Day 3, slipping. Day 4, gone. He whispered, I can't keep doing this. His life felt like a loop, a cycle of starting strong and dying out. As he stared at a list of goals he had once believed in, he whispered something he had never said out loud: I don't trust myself. And in that moment, something shifted in the air. A soft voice spoke from behind him: That's the real problem, Lucas. Lucas jumped, heart slamming into his chest. Standing in the doorway was a man, calm, steady, familiar eyes that seemed to understand him instantly. Lucas staggered to his feet. Who are you? How did you get in here? The man didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and said, I'm here because you reached the point where people either change forever, or remain stuck for the rest of their lives. Lucas swallowed. What point? The man looked at the notebooks on the floor. The point of zero momentum. A pause. The point where rebuilding is still possible, but only if you learn the truth. Lucas felt a chill crawl up his spine. What truth? He asked. The man smiled faintly. The truth no one ever teaches you: momentum isn't built from big actions. Momentum is built from identity. The first truth about momentum. The stranger walked over, picked up one of Lucas's notebooks, and flipped through the pages. You think momentum comes from doing more, the man said. He closed the notebook. It doesn't. Lucas frowned. Then what does it come from? The stranger leaned closer. From small, repeated wins that rewrite who you believe you are. Lucas blinked. Small wins? Yes, the man said. You lose momentum every time you break a promise to yourself. Momentum dies when your identity fractures. Lucas frowned harder. I don't understand. The man placed a hand on Lucas's chest. Right now, your identity is: I'm someone who can't follow through. I'm someone who quits. I'm someone who fails. Lucas felt his breath catch. That identity makes momentum impossible, the stranger continued. Because every time you try to build it, your mind pulls you back to who you believe you are. Lucas whispered, so I'm not failing because of what I'm doing. I'm failing because of who I think I am. The stranger nodded. Exactly. The second truth about momentum. The man walked to the kitchen, picked up a single glass, and set it on the counter. This, he said, is what most people try to do. He filled the glass completely in one pour, water spilling over the sides. They try to build momentum with huge bursts of effort. One intense sprint. He let the water run over his hand. And then they burn out. He dumped the glass out. Momentum isn't a sprint. He picked up the glass again and filled it one small drip at a time. Momentum is consistency. Lucas watched the slow drip of water filling the glass. It's boring, the stranger added. It's unexciting. It's repetitive. He looked at Lucas. But it works. And it changes everything. The third truth about momentum. The stranger walked back to Lucas. Lucas, he said softly, your momentum isn't dying because you're weak. He tapped Lucas's forehead. It's dying because you never learned how to create automatic forward motion. Lucas frowned. Automatic? The man nodded. You should not have to rely on motivation. Or inspiration. Or hype. He held Lucas's gaze. Momentum becomes unstoppable when it becomes a habit, not a decision. Lucas whispered, that sounds impossible. The stranger smiled. It's not. But you need to understand something first. He took a step back. You think momentum begins when you start moving. He shook his head. Momentum begins when you stop stopping. Lucas felt the words hit him in his chest like a weight. He said quietly, I stop a lot. I know, the stranger replied. That's why you're stuck. The final reveal of the night. Lucas narrowed his eyes. You keep talking like you've been watching me. The stranger nodded calmly. I have. Lucas's heart pounded. What do you mean? Who are you? The stranger studied him. For years, he said, I've watched you start and stop. Dream and quit. Try and collapse. He pointed to the notebooks. I watched you build momentum and destroy it. Lucas felt his hands shake. Why? He whispered. Why would you watch me? The stranger took a long breath. Because someone from your past asked me to. Lucas froze. Who? He asked, voice barely audible. The stranger stepped closer. His voice softened. Someone who knew you before you learned to doubt yourself. Lucas felt something twist in his gut. His voice cracked. Tell me who. The stranger held his gaze. Tomorrow, he said, I'll tell you the name. He walked toward the door. But know this, Lucas, that person believed you were born to create momentum, even when you forgot how. The door closed. And Lucas stood alone in the quiet, heart pounding, wondering who from his past still believed in him. Enough to send a stranger to save his future. Lucas barely slept. Not because he was afraid, but because the stranger's words revealed something he had never considered. Momentum doesn't start when you begin. Momentum starts when you stop stopping. That sentence echoed through him like a pulse. He sat at his desk replaying the stranger's final promise, tomorrow, I'll tell you the name. Someone from his past. Someone who believed in him. Someone who knew him before he doubted himself. His mind raced through memories, teachers, friends, coaches, relatives, but none felt right. Who would care enough to send someone to help him now? At 9 a.m. sharp, the knock came. Lucas opened the door before the stranger could even lower his hand. You said you'd tell me today, Lucas blurted out. The stranger stepped inside calmly. And I will. They walked to the living room. The notebooks still lay scattered across the floor, open wounds from years of broken promises. The stranger motioned toward them. Before I tell you who sent me, he said, you need to understand something they knew about you long before you did. The truth about why momentum dies. The stranger knelt and picked up the notebook from the top of the pile. This, he said, tapping the cover, is not a record of failure. Lucas frowned. It looks like one. The man shook his head. This is a record of a man who doesn't understand momentum. He flipped the notebook open. Momentum dies, he said, the moment effort becomes optional. Lucas blinked. I don't get it. The stranger drew a small chart. A line going up, then down, then up, then down. This, he said, is your entire adult life. Lucas looked at the chart and saw himself. You push hard, the stranger continued. But only when you feel good. When you feel motivated. When you feel inspired. He drew a bold X across the chart. Momentum doesn't care about your feelings. He tapped the page. Momentum requires discipline on your worst day, not your best. Lucas nodded slowly. So I should grind harder? The stranger actually smiled. No. You should grind smaller. More consistently. More sustainably. He leaned forward. 2 minutes a day can build more momentum than 2 hours once a week. Lucas swallowed. That actually makes sense. The stranger nodded. Good. Because that understanding is the first step. The moment he always lost momentum, the man walked to Lucas's small kitchen table and pointed to the chair. Sit. Lucas obeyed. The stranger placed a blank page in front of him. Lucas, he said, I need you to tell me the moment you always stop. Lucas frowned. What do you mean? When you try something new, the stranger clarified, at what point do you quit? When does the momentum die? Lucas hesitated. Then he whispered, when it stops being exciting. The stranger nodded. And why does that scare you? Lucas's voice cracked. Because when the excitement fades, it starts feeling like work. The man smiled gently. That's your mistake. He tapped Lucas's chest. You think momentum is built during excitement. But momentum is born in monotony. Lucas's breath caught. The stranger continued, you lose momentum not because you're weak, but because you expect momentum to feel good. He pointed to Lucas. That expectation is what destroys you. The real enemy of momentum. The stranger stood and walked to the window. The enemy of momentum, he said, isn't laziness. He turned back to Lucas. It's impatience. Lucas leaned forward. Impatience? Yes, the stranger said. You expect results fast. You expect progress to show. You expect validation. He shook his head. Momentum doesn't appear in the first steps. It appears in the 10th. Then the 20th. Then the 50th. He walked closer. And because you can't see the progress at the beginning, you assume nothing is happening. Lucas swallowed hard. So I quit. Yes, the stranger said softly. You quit right before momentum starts. He paused. And the person who sent me knew this about you. Lucas's breath caught. Who? He whispered. The stranger didn't answer yet. Instead, he sat across from Lucas. The person who believed in him first. Lucas, the man said, there was a time in your life when momentum wasn't hard for you. Lucas frowned. When? The stranger smiled faintly. When you were a child. Lucas blinked. You had unstoppable momentum back then, the man continued. You learned fast. You tried everything. You pushed forward without hesitation. Lucas exhaled. That was before life got complicated. The stranger shook his head. No. That was before someone made you believe starting wasn't enough. Lucas's eyes widened. What do you mean? The stranger's voice softened. You weren't born doubting yourself. You learned it from someone who demanded perfection instead of progress. A cold wave ran down Lucas's spine. He whispered, my father. The stranger nodded. Yes. Lucas looked away, jaw tightening. He always told me starting wasn't good enough. Finish what you begin. Don't start if you won't commit. Do it right or don't do it at all. His voice cracked. He made me terrified of messing up. The stranger nodded slowly. And that fear, a pause, is what destroys your momentum every time. Lucas wiped a tear from his cheek. So he's the reason you're here? He asked. The stranger shook his head. No, Lucas. He walked closer. I'm here because of the person who saw the pressure he put on you. Lucas's heart raced. Who? The name revealed. The stranger placed a gentle hand on Lucas's shoulder. The person who sent me, he said softly, was the only person who ever encouraged your small wins. The only one who celebrated your effort, not your results. The only one who believed momentum mattered more than perfection. Lucas's entire body tensed. His eyes filled. Tell me, he whispered. The stranger exhaled slowly. It was your mother. Lucas froze. The air left his lungs. My mom? The man nodded. Yes. Before she passed, she worried that your father's expectations would crush you, and that your fear of disappointing him would take away your drive. Lucas felt tears stream down his face. She believed, the stranger continued, that you were meant to build momentum in the world. That you were born to move. To create. To grow. He placed a hand over Lucas's heart. And she asked me to return when you forgot that. Lucas covered his face, sobbing quietly. All the broken attempts, all the abandoned goals, all the false starts. They weren't proof of weakness. They were proof of pain. And for the first time in his life, Lucas understood why he couldn't build momentum. Not because he lacked discipline. Not because he lacked motivation. But because he had spent years trying to be perfect, instead of trying to begin. Lucas sat in silence, hands trembling. His mother. The woman who encouraged him, believed in him, pushed him gently, celebrated every tiny step. The only person who ever told him, starting is enough. Trying is progress. Moving is winning. The stranger watched him quietly, giving him space to process the weight of the revelation. Lucas wiped his eyes. His voice came out small, fragile. My mom believed I was meant for momentum. She did, the stranger replied. But she also knew something else. He stepped closer. She knew the world would teach you to fear small beginnings. To fear looking amateur. To fear the slow, steady rise. Lucas nodded. That's exactly what happened. The memory that shaped his entire adult life. The stranger pulled out a chair and sat across from Lucas. There's a moment, he said, that changed the way you viewed momentum forever. Lucas frowned. What moment? The stranger gestured toward him. Think back, he said gently. To the moment you first hesitated. The moment you first feared failing in front of someone. Lucas swallowed hard. He closed his eyes. And then a memory resurfaced. He was 8 years old. Trying to learn how to skateboard. He fell. Again. And again. And again. And every time he fell, his father stood with his arms crossed, shaking his head. Come on, Lucas. Stop embarrassing yourself. If you can't get it right, stop wasting time. Lucas felt his stomach tighten. He whispered, he made me quit that day. The stranger nodded slowly. He didn't mean harm. But he taught you the worst lesson a child can learn: if you're not instantly good at something, stop. Lucas felt tears slipping down his face. And from that day, the stranger added, you stopped trying unless you were sure you wouldn't fail. Lucas nodded painfully. That's why I never build momentum, he whispered. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to start small. I don't want to be judged. The stranger leaned forward. Lucas, look at me. Lucas lifted his eyes. And the stranger spoke the truth he had avoided his entire life. Your momentum died the moment your father shamed your effort. Lucas inhaled sharply, as if the air itself punched him. The shift he never expected. The stranger continued, you think your problem is laziness? Or inconsistency? Or lack of discipline? He shook his head. No. Your true problem is that you've been trying to avoid feeling like that 8-year-old again. Lucas closed his eyes, overwhelmed. The stranger's voice softened. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you learned to associate starting with shame. Lucas whispered, so how do I fix it? The stranger smiled gently. By learning what your mother tried to teach you before she passed. Lucas blinked through tears. What did she want me to learn? The secret of unstoppable momentum. The stranger stood and walked to the window. Sunlight poured in, calm, golden, warm. He turned to face Lucas. She wanted you to learn that progress doesn't feel powerful. He raised one finger. It feels tiny. Another. It feels unimpressive. Another. It feels slow. Another. It feels invisible. Then he stepped closer. But tiny, unimpressive, slow, invisible steps compound into unstoppable momentum. He tapped Lucas's chest. Your mother understood something your father didn't. In the beginning, success is quiet. Only later does it become loud. Lucas's breath shuddered. She knew you had the heart to keep moving, the stranger said softly. But she feared you'd lose it the moment the world demanded perfection. He placed a hand on Lucas's shoulder. She asked me to return when you reached the moment she always feared. Lucas whispered, what moment? The stranger looked at him with deep sadness. The moment you stopped believing even small progress mattered. A tear rolled down Lucas's cheek. That's where you are now, the stranger added gently. And that's why I'm here. The redemption of momentum. The stranger walked to the kitchen counter and grabbed a cup. He set it down in front of Lucas. Watch this. He picked up a small pitcher. And he poured one drop. Then another. Then another. The cup barely changed. That's your progress, he said. Then the drops hit faster. And faster. And faster. Until the cup was suddenly half full. That's your momentum. He set the pitcher down. You don't build unstoppable momentum by pouring a bucket once. He tapped the cup. You build it by dripping every day. Lucas stared at the cup and something clicked. Really clicked. He whispered, I get it. The stranger nodded. I know you do. The twist he never saw coming. Lucas looked up. So now what? He asked. What happens next? What do I do? The stranger stepped closer. His voice dropped to a quiet, almost emotional tone. Now, he said, you learn the real reason your mother sent me. Lucas's heart pounded. What reason? The stranger reached into his coat and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. Old. Worn. Handled with love. Lucas took it with shaking hands. He unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakable. His mother's. A short message. Only one sentence. Lucas read it silently. Then out loud, help him remember that a single step is enough to change his entire direction. Mom. Lucas broke into tears, the kind that release years of pressure, shame, and self-doubt. The stranger placed a gentle hand behind Lucas's back as he cried. When the tears slowed, the stranger whispered, she didn't want you to become perfect. He squeezed Lucas's shoulder. She wanted you to become in motion. The mentor who fades when momentum returns. Lucas looked at the stranger. Why are you really here? He whispered. The man smiled. Because you reached the point where you were about to stay stuck forever. He stepped back. But now, he gestured to Lucas. You're moving. Lucas swallowed. So, are you leaving now? The stranger nodded. Yes. Will I see you again? Lucas asked. The stranger's voice softened. When your momentum dies, he said. When you forget how powerful a single step can be. He turned toward the door. But I don't think that will happen again. Lucas took a step forward. Why? The stranger glanced back with a warm, knowing smile. Because you remember now. He opened the door. And once a man remembers movement, he never truly stops. The door closed. Lucas stood in the quiet, holding his mother's note against his heart, feeling something awakening inside him. Not motivation. Not excitement. But something far stronger, momentum.